Hello guys, welcome to Captain Dorja's Armory. This is Captain Dorja. We are going to be looking at this tank right here, the T-34-3. Now if you saw my patch preview from the test server where this tank was on it, I gave rave reviews for this thing. I really liked it. I thought it was great. So immediately I went out and I bought it on the live server, and I wouldn't say that I regret buying it, but I kind of maybe wished I hadn't been quite so hasty, because this tank has been rough. This tank has been rough. Now, you can see that I also have a Type 59, so, it's not like I needed the T-34-3 to train my crew or anything. I got it because I thought it looked really fun on the test server. I was making great money with it on the test server, so I thought that that should carry over to the live server. And I'm a tank collector. I like to own all the tanks. And also, I've played the Type 59 a lot. I got 1,018 battles in it. I know there are people out there who have like 5K battles in their like Panzer IIIs and stuff. And, if you can do that, hats off to you. But I get really tired of playing the same tanks all the time. So, part of the reason why I got a T-34-3 was that if I felt like playing a Tier 8 Premium Medium, and I didn't feel like playing the Type 59, I could play this thing. And they have way different playstyles, so it's, going to keep things interesting. So we're going to talk about the attributes of this tank, and then we're going to look at a battle that I played on it, and we're going to compare this in the garage to the Type 59, because that's the thing that you're obviously going to compare to. And even though the comparison is not always that valid because of the differences in playstyle, unfortunately for me, since I own both tanks, every time I drive this, whatever happens to me, I always think in the Type 59, this would have happened. And it's kind of the measuring stick for the T-34-3. And as the saying goes, the Type 59 had some big boots to fill. And I don't really think this thing quite measures up, which many people, I'm sure, are happy about, because the Type 59 is probably as talked up by rumors in this game as the Tiger 1 was in real life. So, Type Terror was something that I used to love back when you used to get it all the time, and you would have somebody like a Lerva shoot AG at you, which was hilarious. Not quite as susceptible to that anymore, since the 59's been nerfed a lot, mostly with its frontal armor being nerfed a lot. But it's still a strong tank, and I don't think the T-34-3 is quite up to the same level. But let's take a look at them. First of all, they both have 4 main crews, and so do your Chinese mediums, so you can train your crews without any additions in both tanks. Now, the Type T-34, or the T-34-3 rather, and the Type 59 both have 1,300 health, which is cool because it's completely the same. They weigh almost the same, 36.7 tons for the Type 59, and 36.15 tons for the T-34-3. They have the same engine power, 520 horsepower, which leaves them both slightly underpowered, with about 14.4 power to weight ratio on the T-34-3 and 14.1 on the Type 59. So not the greatest engine power out there, but it's not terrible, but it is about the worst power to weight ratio on any medium tank that you're going to run into in a high tier game. So that is worth mentioning. Top speed on the tank is 50 kph with a 46 degree traverse speed, which you can see is pretty comparable to the 59. The Type 59 can go 56 kph, and it's got the same traverse. So, pretty similar traverse speeds. The Type 59 turret traverses at 46 degrees per second. It's got 380 meter view range and a 600 meter signal range. And we can see that the turret traverse, view range, and signal range of the T-34-3 are identical. So, the only things really left to talk about are guns and armor, as well as module equipment, but we can do modules super fast. The Type 59, you run a gun rammer, a vertical stabilizer, and a wet ammo rack on your Type 59. That's what I run anyway. The wet rack is basically required, as this tank is the most prone tank to exploding I've ever driven, even more than the T-44, which is infamous, just utterly infamous for ammo rack explosions. So wet rack on the Type 59, mandatory. That's pretty much the biggest difference between the two equipment-wise, is that on the T-34-3, I've got not vertical stabilizers, but improved ventilation. And that's because of the way the gun performs. So let's take a look at the guns. The Type 59 has kind of a standard Russian 100mm gun, and the T-34-3 has kind of a standard 122mm gun. So rate of fire on the 100mm is obviously a lot faster, 6.9 versus 4.17. So the Type 59 shoots a lot faster. Type 59 also has a slight advantage in penetration at 181 versus 175 on the T-34-3. The T-34-3, though, wins the alpha damage contest at 390 per shot versus 250 on the Type 59. But the Type is a lot more accurate and it aims faster. 3.9 accuracy, 0.39 rather, and 2.9 second aiming time, compared to 0.46 accuracy and 3.4 second aiming time on the T-34-3. So the T-34-3 basically has the gun of a KV-1S or an IS or an IS-6. 175 pen, 390 damage, 0.46 accuracy, 3.4 second aiming time, 4 rounds per minute. If you play a lot of Russian tanks, you are very used to this. Premium shells, the T-34-3 can shoot 250 pen heat rounds, and the Type 59 can shoot 241 pen APCR, and I do carry a little bit of both in each tank. More Prem shells in the T-34-3 than in the 59, but that's mostly because since the Type 59 got the extra pen, it's only 6mm extra, but it makes a pretty big difference. I feel like I don't need the Prem shells hardly at all anymore, and also the Type 59 doesn't carry that much ammo. It only carries like 34 shells, and I've ran out of ammo before in the tank. I once lost an amazing carry game that me and a clanmate played, because the last tank left alive was me versus a KV-5, and I was out of ammo. I had nothing but HE. And so he capped our base, and there was nothing I could do about it. The T-34-3, though, can carry a lot more ammo. They can carry like 40 shells, and since they hit harder, they essentially go farther. Now, I do carry 10 heat rounds in this tank, which is probably overkill. I could probably get away with about 6. But the 175 pen gun is just really bad. It's really weak. The other thing that's problematic is this tank has almost no gun depression, and the Type 59 doesn't have much. It's got what a Russian tank would have, but compared to the T-34-3, the Type 59's gun depresses like insanely well, so it definitely takes a lot of getting used to. Now, the biggest setback for me on the two tanks is the armor. The Type 59 is renowned as a medium tank with strong armor, and even though the amount of millimeters of armor hasn't changed, I've noticed that the effectiveness gets worse over time. Now, that could be attributed to a number of things. It could be attributed to me driving my Type 59 more carelessly, which is probably true. I've played it so much that sometimes I just can't be bothered. It could be attributed to players learning where to shoot the tank better, which is also almost certainly true. The tank's been in the game now for 3 years. People have learned how to deal with it. Premium shells for credits definitely happens. Facing a guy front on, maybe angled like this, he could still pen my lower plate. Instead, though, he'll put heat through my turret. Okay, that's fine, I guess. Gotta live with it. And the last reason why the Type's armor could be not as effective as it used to be is I think it got stealth nerfed a lot of times because the rage at the Type 59 from the community was very strong. And I'm pretty sure they stealth nerfed the tank a lot to kind of placate people. So I think the reason why my 59's armor doesn't perform as well as it used to is a combination of my own apathy as a driver, people knowing what to do, people firing Prem shells, and stealth nerfs from like 1.5 to 2 years ago. But even with the nerf, or the possibility of nerfs and the other things that I mentioned, the Type 59 definitely has better armor than the T-34-3, and it's really frustrating, because if this tank had armor, it would be great. Or at the very least, it would be really good. And I think it's actually kind of mediocre, because it just can't take a hit. You got 90mm armor on the front, versus 100 millimeter armor on the Type 59. And you might say to me, Captain Dorja, that's only 10 millimeter difference. Yeah, well, this tank is also taller, has a bigger lower plate, and the armor is less slanted. Believe me, it does not perform anywhere near as well. If you're familiar with driving the T-44, T-44, I do believe, has 90 millimeter frontal armor as well. And if you've driven a T-44, you will know that that frontal armor does not count for much. And it's the same on the T-34-3. That frontal hull armor, it essentially does not exist. So that is definitely frustrating as all hell. Next, the turret front is nowhere near as strong, which is weird because, again, it's only 10 millimeters thinner. 190 with a spherical shape, very, very rounded, versus 200 with a spherical shape, again, very, very rounded. But if we note some differences on the two turrets, the T-34-3's turret is taller, and these openings for gun sights and coaxial machine guns are larger. And I think that that has given it correspondingly larger weak points that are much more susceptible to being hit and taking damage. So I've noticed that my turret front is not as good as I would like it to be, and that is problematic. You also have the weak points on the top, which take damage fairly readily. So this tank, to me, plays like a tank that really needs frontal armor and just doesn't have it. And the reason why I think it needs that frontal armor is it's got a gun that has only one attribute that's good, and that is alpha damage. It has bad rate of fire, bad penetration, bad accuracy, bad aiming time, bad gun depression. So in order to depress the gun, you need to expose yourself. And a lot of the time you need to expose yourself for a pretty long time to actually get a shot. Then you need to expose yourself for an even longer time to lay the gun onto target and let it aim. Then you need to expose yourself even longer to make sure you're actually doing a good job aiming your shot because your accuracy is so terrible. Also, you're usually doing this pretty close to the enemy because your gun is so inaccurate. And because you have a low power to weight ratio, if there's any kind of terrain in the way, you're not poking particularly fast. You're exposing yourself fairly slow. You're pulling back fairly slow. And because of the low penetration, the gun's prone to bouncing, which means you're going to have to poke a lot of times at the same target. So, in a nutshell, you're going to take a lot of frontal hits with this tank, and you need the ability to absorb those frontal hits, and simply put, you just don't have it. And I think that's a real letdown. And, like I've said with tank destroyers, I can live with a lot of big weaknesses if I've got an awesome gun. And I think the T-34-3, you kind of have to live with a lot of big weaknesses, and you have a decidedly mediocre gun. So that can be pretty unfortunate if you ask me. But I really think the killer of this tank is its armor just doesn't stand the test. You've got a mediocre gun, you've got mediocre mobility, and you've got mediocre armor. Now what that equals is a crappy iron triangle. And when you have a tank with a crappy iron triangle, you have a crappy tank. If this tank had either better mobility or stronger frontal armor or a little bit more pen on its gun, maybe as little as 180, this tank would be pretty good, I think. But instead what we get left with is a rather mediocre package. But just because it's a mediocre package doesn't mean it can't be fun to drive and that you don't have good games in it. And we're going to move on right now to one of the best games I've played in this tank. This is a battle on Ruinberg where I had a lot of fun. It's one of my better T-34-3 matches. I had a good time in it, and I really want to share it with you guys just because, this is the potential of this tank when you have a good match. So we've been in the garage for a long time, but I think we had a lot to cover. So let's get this sucker into battle. Alright guys, so here we are in battle with the T-34-3. We're on a standard battle on Ruinberg, and I am in a platoon with Blackjack Pershing, who is around here somewhere. There he is, in his T-26-E4 Super Pershing. Every now and then we'll play a Tier 8 Premium battle with the Super Pershing. Try not to force it on him too much, but sometimes we just got to break the action a little bit and play these suckers. So we're platooned up, and kind of an interesting combination of tanks. The Super Pershing is so slow. The T-34-3 is pretty slow as well. got a high top speed, but it's got bad acceleration. Neither one of us has a lot of pen, but at least Blackjack's got a little bit of resilience from all his space armor. It ain't as good as it once was, to quote Toby Keith, but it's still pretty good. Definitely better than what I have. So Blackjack is heading to what is traditionally a tank destroyer position, to where he can kind of go hull down. I'm trying to figure out if I can work this corner, but my tank has actually got a low enough profile that I cannot poke through that gap, which is unfortunate because that would have been sweet. But, oh well. So we're doing something a little weird right there. We're backing up to see if we can get a shot on the 3002D, but we can't. And our ISU smokes his pole. What did I just say? I don't know why I said that. Our ISU smashes that guy's face off and kills him. So, I poke around the corner and I spot a 112, which is nasty, nasty, and a 3001H, or a 3601H, which is a lot less nasty, and an IS-2, which is also fairly nasty. So our ISU just picked up another kill on the ARL, and we can see Blackjack putting hits in on the Tiger 1. I decide, screw fighting those guys up there. I'm going to come down here, try to team up with Blackjack, get some big old BL-10 fire support, and I'm going to go after this 5100. So we're putting shots into the 5100, and we can see the 5100 firing. I come around the corner and fire at the 5100, and I actually miss, and I hit the T-69 and bounce off. The enemy 5100 kills our KV-3, so we decide to reposition to look for more effective angles. We're sort of trying to side scrape around the corner, use this KV-3 wreck as cover. We're playing a dangerous game here. With those guys on the other corner, if they want, they could come around and shoot me in the side. But I'm counting on our Tiger 1, our other Tiger 1, Blackjack, and the ISU to keep them from doing that. Now, unfortunately for me, I bounced off an AMX 5100's turret, which is pretty ridiculous. And I just bounced off the T-69 turret for the second time. So far, I fired 4 shots. All 4 have hit. 3 have bounced, and 1 has done 26 damage and killed a Tier 4 light. So I'm not exactly in high spirits right now with the performance of this tank. So I'm looking for shots on the IS-2. Wasn't getting anything, but I put a massive hit into his lower plate, dealing 403 damage. With the combo shot from me and that IS, the enemy IS-2 is basically, he's out of action. You can see where we bounced off the 5100, but luckily, not luckily, but anyway, the second shell does not bounce. If the second shell had bounced, I would have been livid. You put a third shot into the 5100, dealing 421 damage. We've now raked this guy pretty hard, and the battle is starting to look a little better. Now, I just took a second hit through my commander's hatch, knocking out my viewports. I put a third shot into the T-69, bouncing off. I've now shot that T-69 3 times and done nothing. So, yeah. T-69 turret armor, troll much? Yeah, I think so. Now, for some reason, I haven't medkitted my commander yet, which is unusual. Normally, when my commander dies, I medkit him instantly, because your commander is very important to your tank's performance in this game. And I'm wondering why I haven't medkitted my commander, because I know that the commander's dead. I'm not sure why I haven't done it. So our IS YOLOs around the corner. I put a shot into the 3601H. I want to get this 3601 out of the way so that I can engage the T-69 freely. Unfortunately, what that means is Mr. YOLO IS is dead. I didn't, sacrifice that IS on purpose, but I just, with the reload on this gun, and with the fact that that T-69 had been smoking me so hard, I was not in any hurry to go and sit on a corner against the T-69, which is basically what that IS would have required me to do. Now, behind the dead IS's wreck, I have good cover against the T-69. So I decided that in that engagement I would take out the damaged 112 first, and then take cover and focus on the T-69. So that's exactly what we do. We've got the side of this Type 59. Blackjack is engaging him from the front. This Type 59 basically just realized that he is up the creek without a paddle, so to speak. And he is now beating a hasty retreat. At this point, I'm telling Blackjack, hold your horses, let me go first. Blackjack puts a good shot into the enemy IS. We're aiming our gun. You can see our terrible aim time, and our low accuracy means that we actually miss the IS. Now, I've just medkitted my commander just now. I'm not sure why I waited so long, but I did. We just took a hit. It had to be the enemy KV-1S, but it bounced off our turret, which tells me that he is probably using a stock gun. We fired at the IS, but because of our low accuracy and our long aiming time, we sort of fired clutch, and as the IS backed up, our shell hit his sharply angled front plate and did no damage, which is unfortunate. Now at this point, Blackjack is hunting the enemy artillery. Myself and the ISU combo that IS and wipe him from the face of the earth, thus putting him out of his misery. Now at this point in the battle, I was sarcastically saying in chat, hopefully the artillery TD modes his way through the rest of my team so that I can get the top gun. I didn't actually mean that, but the artillery did just TD Blackjack right after I said that to him on Vent. So that was a little funny. Now you can see our ISU is going after the Arty now, so the Arty is not long for this world. And I'm going after the KV-1S. I know he's around here somewhere because he was firing at me. We spot him, we fire into his side, we do the remaining 105 damage to him and kill him. Now the ISU is in contact with the enemy GW Panther, so sure enough, the GW Panther is going to die soon. We're just going to try and move in and get the kill, but oh my god, the GW Panther TDs the ISU 152 as well. So now it's just the Tiger, and I actually have a chance at the Top Gun if the enemy Arty can hold off the Tiger long enough. At this point, I was actually saying in chat to Blackjack, come on, Tiger, wait a minute, Tiger, not yet, Tiger, hold off, Tiger. And I'm not sure if the Tiger is actually holding off or what, but he could be killing this Arty right now, and he totally is not. Now, I think what it actually is the Arty's backed himself into a weird little corner, and the Tiger doesn't have that much health left, and the Tiger has just seen this Arty successfully TD mode a Super Pershing and an ISU 152. So I think the Arty is actually, or the Tiger is actually, making sure the Arty doesn't kill him, and maybe he was also offering me the Top Gun. I'm not sure, but at any rate, it just made me feel really good. I convoed the guy at the end of the game, and I told him thanks, and he kind of got a chuckle out of it. It was a pretty good time. Again, I don't know if that guy did that on purpose to give me a Top Gun, or if he just didn't want the Arty to TD him in the face, because that GW Panther had just TD moded an ISU and a Super Pershing, and was being very, very clever about fighting the Tiger as well. So, whatever the case may be, we managed to get the Top Gun out of it, and surprisingly for this tank, we also picked up a sniper medal, and Mastery Badge Ace Tanker. I did not even know that was my Mastery Badge game, but it was. That was not my first one of the day, but we still pulled down 1,918 experience, which is pretty good, and 109,000 credits, which is also quite respectable. You can see that we did the top damage in the game, 2,986, which isn't amazingly high, but it is still quite a bit. The Tiger that was still alive, thanks for letting me have the Top Gun. Our other Tiger, who died, he fought a really good game, 2585 damage. Our ISU, 2559 and 4 kills. He played really well. Blackjack had a strong game as well, 1752 damage done and a lot of experience. I think Blackjack was actually number 2 on experience. He was with 983. You can see he got 1,064 assistance damage, probably mostly from, if I had to guess, I think he was doing some spotting for the ISU when they were down in the city together. And also maybe he was getting some D-tracks for the ISU. I'm not exactly certain. But still, not a bad result for the Super Pershing. That tank is incredibly mediocre. You can see that we managed a 86,000 credit profit, which is pretty nice. Even with a standard account, that would have been 50k profit. And 1,900 experience. Again, with a standard account, we still would have managed 1,300, which is pretty good. 18 shots fired, 17 hits, 13 penetrations. We were bouncing off some incredibly troll tanks. We bounced off a 5100, for Christ's sakes. That is just not something that happens very often. And we bounced 3 times off that Goram T-69. That was incredibly frustrating. We received 6 hits. 4 of them bounced, which is weird. Especially since I spent a lot of time talking about how this tank does not take hits very well. But 2 of those hits were really long-range, badly aimed frontal turret hits from a KV-1S. So we would not expect those to penetrate. But I don't know what else was even shooting at me. I think I bounced a T-69 shell and maybe a Type 59 shot, I'm not sure. But when I was basically hauled down behind that dead IS, I did get shot at, and it didn't really do any damage. Now, you may be saying, excuse me while I yawn and talk, you may be saying that after my kind of doom and gloom in the garage, this battle was pretty friggin' upbeat. And you're right, it was. But it was also on Ruinberg, which is great. Because first of all, Ruinberg is a map that I love, and I think I play very well in the city on Ruinberg. I know how to fight in that town. I can fight in that town with any tank in the game and do really well. Also, it's a map where gun depression is irrelevant. If you go into the town, everything is flat. If I went into the Crossroads village on the other flank, gun depression would have been a big deal, and I don't have any, and I would have done bad and probably died horribly and contributed almost nothing to the match. But I didn't, and I didn't go there on purpose, because I know that I suck at fighting over there, and that this tank is ill-suited to it. So I went into the town where I'm good at fighting and where this tank is going to be a lot more effective. Also, if we look at the team lists, the full team lists, please. If we look at the team list, this is a fairly kind matchmaking. I wish it would just sort by tiers. How do I make it sort by tiers? Anyway, fine, we're just going to count since I can't figure out how to make this thing sort. 1, 2, 3, 4 tier 8s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tier 7s. 1, 2, 3 tier 6s, a tier 4 scout, and an artillery. That was a pretty favorable match. When you get this tank in with lots of tier 8s and a couple of tier 9s, there's not really anything that you can easily brutalize. This match had a lot of tanks in it that I could easily brutalize. Case in point, 3601, 3002, Leopard. I would actually say T-69, but not in this battle. He trolled the crap out of me. But normally, I could chew that guy up pretty effectively and pretty fast. Tiger P, no problem. Tiger, no problem. KV-1S, no problem. IS-2, IS, no problem. E-25, well, if the E-25 is getting shot by me, I'll kill him really fast. But the E-25 is actually one of the most dangerous tanks in that map. ARL, I can grind that guy up, no problem. 5100, if I can avoid taking hits from him, he's screwed. But if I can't, he could kill me really fast. It's kind of a similar thing with the E-25. But, like, at any rate, I can do a lot of damage to a 5100 really quickly. Whereas, like, if I had to fight, say, a Tiger 2 or an IS-3 in frontal combat, forget about it. I'd have to fire heat. Really, the only things in this match that in frontal combat were going to be that difficult to take on would be the 112. And the Type 59, maybe. But again, not really that big of a deal. So it was a pretty favorable matchmaking on a map that I know well and that I love, where I can basically negate my tank's weaknesses and play really strong. So favorable matchmaking, favorable map selection, and, it worked out really well. Anyway, guys, this has been kind of a long video with a lot of time spent in garage and post-battle results, so I apologize for that. I hope you enjoyed the video nonetheless. I definitely enjoyed that battle. It was a fun battle to play, and I've been really enjoying platooning with Blackjack Pershing lately. Just watching him advance through the tiers is really fun, and watching him become a better player is definitely fun as well, and he is becoming a better player really fast, so that's really nice to see. It's always great to have a reliable platoon mate, and Blackjack is definitely a reliable platoon mate. Fun to play World of Tanks with my friend John. So, anyway, guys, like I said, I hope you enjoyed that battle. I enjoyed playing it. I definitely enjoyed making these videos. And until next time, guys, just remember, you can never have enough big guns.